Indiana's in for an interesting year. Kirk Cignetti comes in from James Madison, brings a ton of talent in from the transfer portal. And today we take a look at the top 10 returning players that will make this year intriguing. We start with Curtis Rourke, not really a surprise to have him at this point. Curtis Rourke is a very good player who comes in from Ohio, had a solid year for the Bobcats, obviously dealt with a couple of injuries in his time, but it'll be interesting to see what he can do at the next level. Kurt Cignetti and Mike Shanahan, that offensive stat, have done a great job of getting their quarterbacks to play at high levels. And Curtis Rourke has arguably the most talent of the previous quarterbacks they've had. But it's going to be hard to play in the Big Ten. It's going to be hard to make plays the same way you did in the MAC. And it's not going to be easy. But Curtis Rourke has the talent to be an exceptional player. It's just that you're playing in the Big Ten, and there's still questions about maybe the talent around you. But make no mistake about it, Curtis Rourke's going to be very intriguing to watch for the Hoosiers in 2024. Mel Kamar comes in from James Madison, follows Cignetti to the new school, 18 and a half tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. Again, with most of these players, the biggest question is going to be, how does this translate to the next level? How does this is this something they can do on a consistent basis? At 6'1", 268 pounds, maybe doesn't have the prototypical size of a traditional Big Ten end, but he has the confidence in his game. He has the production, so we know that he knows how to play the position well. It's just that you have to step your game up a lot this year. A player who's already making noise in spring practices is Aiden Fischer. The linebacker comes in after a big year with the Dukes, follows Cignetti to Indiana after an 108 tackle season, 6 tackles for loss, 7 passes defended. It sounds like he plays the game with a ton of energy within practice, and he'll be fun to watch at the Big Ten level. Again, this team still may not be one of the better teams in the Big Ten, but they are going to be fun because a lot of these James Madison guys know what Cignetti expects, and they are going to set the tone in terms of the energy that's required to play the game. One of the bigger surprises in the transfer portal was Indiana getting CJ West. This was a player that most Power Four programs had their eyes on, and a lot of teams offered him to come to their school. He chose the Hoosiers over a number of big time teams, and that was a huge get for Cignetti. And you can already give that staff a vote of confidence for what they're expecting to do. And West is a freaky player, very twitchy player at the defensive tackle position. That'll be fun to watch at the Big Ten level. Now, throwing the ball, obviously, everything starts with Rourke, but having a guy like Elijah Sarad is a huge piece of that puzzle as well. Sarad had a big year for James Madison, and he gives Indiana a big time weapon downfield. That's really exciting. If you're an Indiana fan, you know you at least have options. Now, obviously, they still have to show what they're capable of doing, but Sarad has shown, at least at James Madison, that he can be a big time player. You have other players that could step up. You have Donovan McCulley. You have Miles Price coming in from Texas Tech. You have EJ Williams, Miles Cross, Keyshawn Williams. You brought in a lot of talent, and you have some talent returning. So this passing attack appears to be one that should be better than last year. A late addition to the transfer portal was DAngelo Ponds, the cornerback from James Madison, is a big time player. Again, another question is, can he make that transition to the Big Ten? A little bit smaller at 5'9", 165 pounds, but someone who the staff really believes in. They think that he can take things to the next level. And this is a passing attack that could get better, a defense that needs to get better. And with the staff that they bring in on top of the players that they added from the transfer portal, aka then to follow, this is going to be a fun defense because right off the bat, it feels like they'll communicate well. It's just a matter of what does the talent level look like. Now, an underrated player, in my opinion, at the nose tackle position is James Carpenter. He's a multi-year starter for the James Madison Dukes that comes to Indiana with Cignetti, and he is someone who's going to be a leader and also a natural playmaker. He was exactly that for the Dukes, someone who's very disruptive for the defense. And again, this is a defense that must improve at various aspects and multiple aspects of the defense. And James Carpenter is going to set the tone. That's going to help this defense to get things going up front. And Carpenter and CJ West could be one of the more underrated duos in college football. Another transfer coming in from Old Dominion, Shawn Asbury II. The safety had a huge year for the Monarchs. The Monarchs had a kind of an underrated track record in terms of producing talent that can compete at the next level and play really well. And this is a team that definitely needs it. Now, this secondary should be really fun to watch. We talked about DAngelo Ponds. You also have Terry Jones Jr. and Shawn is going to be a big time player for them, a slept on player in the transfer portal. Indiana has a number of those players that they didn't besides the guys from James Madison. The guys that they added are either guys that maybe took a step back or had big years on schools that nobody really paid attention to. So Indiana definitely has some intriguing talent both on offense and defense. Again, it's just a matter of can they handle that challenge. Offensive line appears to be in good hands with some of the players they have coming in. Tyler Stevens follows Signetti after playing 36 games at James Madison. The senior should have a big impact on this team. Again, I feel like Indiana raised their floor because of the players that they brought in. This should still be a really fun team to watch. Indiana had a number of players leave in the transfer portal, but the staff did a great job of bringing in talent to replace those guys. They have plenty of talent to be able to not make a run, but compete at a certain level. And again, this team should have a higher floor than maybe most people expect. The offensive line is no different. You bring in Tyler Stevens, you bring in Nick Kidwell. These are guys who were all conference players, and they're looking to do the same thing at Indiana. And finally, the running back position is pretty deep. There's multiple positions where you have plenty of talent, and the running back position is no different. Kalen Black is another James Madison player who comes in expected to be the starter. He has a couple other guys that will be behind him. Probably the biggest names, Justice Ellison, Elijah Green. You have a few other players to keep in mind as well, but those are the big names that you're going to need to know. Kalen Black was a big time player for James Madison, someone who can do a little bit of everything in terms of running the football, catching the football, and this will be a fun offense to watch. If they can gel quickly, they're going to be tough to stop. Again, this is not going to be the most talented team in terms of natural talent, but this is a team that could gel early, find that their experience together at James Madison, along with some of the transfers they bring in from other schools, could make them an intriguing team, a tough team to beat. But this is going to be a fun experiment. We'll see if Signetti can get his program off and running early in the season. But again, Indiana has a lot of intriguing pieces, a lot of talent to work with, and it'll be fun to see how they fare in 2024.